Assalamu alaikum, Khawatin Hazrat. We are back with the Ambassador's Lounge, and then I've had the privilege of listening to our very dear Ambassador Ashraf Jehangir Qazi. I don't have to introduce him because Ambassador Imran Yawar had done it in his interview, and it was such an engaging interview that we wish that this interview would never stop. But I have hijacked Ambassador Ashraf Jehangir Qazi for this interview because it is hard to catch him. And then once he is in our hands, then we don't want to lose this opportunity. So he's our very dear and very sought after ambassador. And along with me, I have Ambassador Amb Ashraf. He will also be bothering our dear Ambassador Ashraf Jehangir Qazi. Sir, welcome again.
Thank you very much.
And this time, I think we want to bother you about the change in the United States.
Yes.
You have seen Mr. Trump has come.
Yes.
And there was a lot of bloodbath going on at the American political scene.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow it perhaps reminded us of Pakistan's political chess. But now Mr. Trump is in power.
Yes.
And one wonders whether is this man a serious man, and whether he will take the United States to a path where peace, stability, and prosperity will go together without going to war?
That's a very, very important question because he's coming in for the second time. People thought that after he came in for the first time, this was just a mistake by the American people who got fooled in because of their economic frustration. And then after he refused to acknowledge the result of the elections which Biden won, they felt that's the complete end of his career. And all Americans will come together, whether Republicans or Democrats, because this man is a threat to democracy. And when it comes to democracy, the Americans, whether Republicans or Democrats or anything else, will all come together to resist it. It has not turned out that way. Now, people are trying to find out why. And the fundamental reason that Trump said during his campaign was, you've had 5 years of Biden. You had 5 years of me. When were you better off? Now, under Biden, or me when I was there? Now, the Democrats tried to answer that question, maybe correctly, that you see that Trump had messed up the economy, which left by Obama, to such an extent that the impact of that fell on Biden's term. But you can't explain that to an unsophisticated public opinion, which has got many other problems of its minds, particularly with refugees coming in, the border problem, Mexicans coming in, and the personality of Trump, which appeals to the working class, because Trump is he's essentially not an educated man, but he's a very cunning person. He's a very clever person politically, and he knows how to take account of the frustrations of the American people. One, the economic frustrations, the political frustrations, the social frustrations. You'd go down the list and say, I should give an easy answer which looks attractive in the kind of idiom and language that they understand, and they will, and particularly since they are pissed off with the Biden administration, or before that, when the Obama administration and was handed over to Hillary Clinton and all. She in the debates won all the debates but lost the election. Yeah. And even here, Trump didn't win the election against Kamala Harris and all. But the people didn't care because she wasn't speaking the language of the people. He was addressing the frustrations of the people. And even though he had been responsible for the deaths of a huge number of people in America because of the COVID, mishandling of COVID, but he was able to pin it on Dr. Fauci.
But you think Trump goes by his instincts? And
He goes
this
by
would-
his instincts. And his instincts are to give you an easy, attractive solution and to exploit your frustration and anger at his opponents.
If we go by the instincts, so his previous tenure, he didn't initiate any new war. This goes to his credit.
Yes, that goes to his
And
credit.
it is also being speculated that perhaps he is the man who doesn't want to go to war. He means business. He may be inward looking, but at the same time, his claim about China or competition, but again, he also knows that if he presses China too much, then it would ultimately be against the interests of the United States, because earlier American administrations tried to squeeze China by levying more taxes, duties, but they could not succeed.
No. But you're right. China, I mean, Trump has made it quite clear that he's a deal maker, not a war maker, but that he has written the book, The Art of the Deal, you know, which means that you take a very strong position, which looks like you can't reach an agreement with him, and he's got enough clout that you want to make an agreement with him, but he's taken such a tough stand that you can't, and then he will take you to a certain point and suddenly sort of, you know, offer you something which will require you to concede, but you would not expect it, and you will agree to it, and he will clinch the deal. And in a way, a lot of Americans still think that if you threaten China, they somehow trust that this guy won't slip into war. But if Biden threatened China, people were worried that this dumb fellow who's isn't quite there, he could easily be dragged in by his generals and by the deep state. You know, that's the Pentagon and the CIA and the FBI. They could drag him into that situation from which there would be no return. Trump has said, no bureaucratic department can dictate to me. I will use them, and if they differ with me, I will kick them out and do this, that, and the other, and I'm going to replace the entire State Department and the entire FBI and this entire this, that, and the other, and I'm the deal maker. So people get the impression that he's standing up for making America great again, and he will threaten, but he won't bring about a disaster.
But you think that he can go against the wishes of the deep state or military industrial complex, which in fact owes its existence to you know, disputes, wars. It thrives on wars and disputes.
You see, he's done a very good job at it. That's a very, very good question. Now, another one of his talents is to suggest to the American lower middle and working classes that he's on their side against these bosses. And at the same time, he's the servant of these bosses who can't even speak to those guys. Those guys hate him. So he pretends to be their protector while being the servant of the 0.01%, the corporate bosses, you see here. Now, American policy is made by two overwhelming powers that don't declare themselves, but which most people are aware of. One is this 0.01%, which are the corporate bosses, the billionaires, and his cabinet is full of billionaires. And the other is the so-called deep state, you know, as I mentioned, the CIA, the FBI, etc., you know, who don't care a damn about the people. They're thinking of America's interests, and they think this guy will, wild guy might get us into a war before we are prepared, or may lose us friends that we need to have to get local victories, regional victories, and things of that sort, you see. So now Trump seems to have made quite clear, I can take care of the deep state. And as far as the 0.01%, I'm on your side against them.
Smart move.
Yes.
I'm just,
yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, you know, the old world order is shattered.
Yes.
And at the same time now, year 2024 is around the corner to come to an end.
Yes.
During the 2024, Syria is gone, Gaza is razed to the ground.
Yes.
And now Trump has also won the elections.
Yes.
And the American administration, whether they are in Democrats or Republicans, they are obsessed with China rise.
Yes.
And Pakistan is a very close ally of and very close friend of China.
Yes.
And Pakistan can compromise on anything but not its friendship with China. and its close, contacts with China. So now Trump, during his first tenure, had invited the former Prime Minister Imran Khan to the White House, and
Yes.
he had been given the status of a state guest house,
Yes.
state guest. So now, how do you see Pakistan's relations with China, with United States of America under President-elect Donald Trump?
Well, even while recognizing the role America has played in the world and in the Middle East, where, as you say, in the Middle East, the whole order has been changed by the conspiracies engineered and implemented by America and Israel, and public opinion in Pakistan is aware of it and very upset about it. But nonetheless, anybody in Pakistan, even amongst the policymakers and all, recognize that America is a hugely important country. Military, the #1 country; technologically, the #1 country; economically, the #1 country. And in the past, it has provided Pakistan huge assistance, including military assistance, as you know, during Pactitis and during the 50s and 60s. It's after 65 war that that thing changed and all. So and then we have a very important Pakistani community in America and in other countries, Britain and other countries. But our Pakistani community in America is along with the Muslim community very influential, and it changed from the Democratic Party to supporting Trump because of Gaza. So, I mean, Pakistan doesn't want to do anything which would embarrass our community in America, which would then lose leverage with the White House under Trump, if that were to happen. So all these factors have to be taken into consideration. But Pakistan also, when it comes to China, you're quite right in saying our friendship, deeper than the sea and higher than the mountains, sweeter than honey and all of that, even if that looks like a nice slogan, as I said, the people of Pakistan love China, trust China, and that is China's biggest asset and all. And China has given more assistance to Pakistan in recent years, ever since CPEC, than all the other countries put together. America used to be the major supplier, but now China has been the major provider of assistance on very good terms and all. You see, Americans try to do a lot of propaganda that it'll be like Sri Lanka, and you will have you bankrupt because of the loans you've taken, and it'll be like you'll have to sort of lease out Hambam, Tota, Sri Lanka to do, and Gwadar will be the same story. But the Chinese, your debt liabilities which you have to pay is not nearly as high as the Americans say. It's more in the range of 13 to 20%,
yes.
Which is still there, and you have to pay it back in America, and China doesn't pretend, but China is quite willing to roll over your loans.
And it has done it.
And has done it and all. But the problem is, and the Chinese, don't say things. They expect you to understand it. How much can and it's not just the present government, almost all the governments that have been in power, the rulers, the elites in Pakistan, the landed elites, the urban elites, the governing elites, the civilian elites, the military elites and all. What they have been doing collectively and what the people's perception in Pakistan is, where are their assets stored? Where do their children live? Where do they plan to retire, those who can afford, and lots of them can afford to, if they can? Do they go to China? Do they go to some other country, or do they go to the West, primarily to the United States or the UK or other English-speaking countries, or not even English-speaking countries, but Western countries, etc., where they can sort of disappear and live in comfort for their last days and all? Now, when America offers those kinds of privileges, does it do it for free? Or does it demand certain things? And if you don't do certain things, what happens? Donald Lu happens. And Donald Lu did happen. And Donald Lu worked through the elites of Pakistan. That if you continue this way, we will have problems. But if you revise your policy, all will be forgiven. What does all will be forgiven mean? Whatever complaints we have, you needn't worry. Whatever fears you have, you needn't worry and all. But do what we ask you to do. But if you make the mistake of putting Pakistan's national interests before America's strategic interests, you can never be a friend of Pakistan. And if you're not a friend of America, you pay a price.
But again, now, sir, if I may interject on
Yes.
that, but for the Trump and American administration, now Pakistan is no more a priority. It is India which is there, which will take the precedence.
That's been true of other administrations also, but for
Yes.
Trump certainly.
So the issue is that even if we want to be friendly, it won't be on our terms.
It never has been on your terms.
No, for instance,
I mean,
they
maybe for a
needed
period,
us.
Pactitis.
Yes, they needed us during
Afghanistan and all
Soviet
that.
invasion of Afghanistan or after the 9/11.
Yes, but
they needed us.
But they're out of Afghanistan now.
But now they are out of Afghanistan. Afghanistan is again a least priority.
Yes.
On a scale of 10, it is just 2.
Yeah.
I have been told by
You're right, and you're the
my
authority
American
on
friends.
this.
Then again, here with Pakistan, if on a scale of 10, I don't think that it will be more than 2 or perhaps between 2 and 3.
Yes.
If that's the case,
Yes.
the question is, what are the options for Pakistan? The issue is, it is for everyone to see. When we say that at the grassroots level, people of Pakistan, they love China.
Yes.
The issue is, then it should be very clear.
Yes.
It should be very clear to the power that be that
Yes.
they have to make some sensible decisions.
It is clear and has been clear for us several times, and not just now, but even with previous regimes. This particular fact which you're mentioning has always been clear. But America has a hold over the elites, and they threaten them that you will have a price to pay that you might not want to pay.
But how can they pay the price?
Huh?
Issue is that now if the United States is not interested in Pakistan, what kind of a price they want from Pakistan, from the elite, even if elite wants to do that?
If America is not interested in Pakistan, after all, Pakistan still has quite a lot of utility in the containment of China policy. There is Gwadar, which they're very upset about. You see, there is CPEC, which they're very upset about.
But
and
that
the
is
ultimate and Pakistan is a prized ally of China, because CPEC is the only totally bilateral agreement under the BRI. All the others are multilateral.
But it is a linchpin.
It is linchpin.
It's a linchpin for the success of the BRI.
Yes, and America does not want Pakistan
to... And so are the Indians.
Yes.
So it means India and the United States.
Yes, of
they
course.
are hobnobbing against...
But you can stand up to India and have.
Yes.
But towards America, and your elites don't depend on on America. India has nothing to offer your elites and all. America has a lot, and the West has a lot to offer your ruling elites since a very long time, and taking... Now, I would say, you ask my opinion, I think we should have the best possible relations with America. America is a powerful country. America can give us a lot of things. But we cannot compromise our essential survival and strategic interests in order to satisfy America's policy towards China.
Do you think we can maintain that balance between the United States and China?
Balance,
are we capable enough?
You should not even try to maintain a balance. You should have good relations with America, but make it absolutely clear that your primary relationship, strategic relationship, is with China, because China has a greater investment, strategic investment, economic investment in Pakistan than America will ever care. America has said, we have these demands from you. If you do that, we will be very happy with you, and you will still be a nice number 2 to India. And if that upsets you, then please resolve your problems with India to the satisfaction of India, including on Kashmir. That is the essence of their message to you. It has never changed. And with that you have to then, if India appears to be becoming, trying to develop its hegemony in South Asia, you are a big country, 250 million, you can sort of resist it up to an extent, but don't disagree with India on everything. Agree on essentials, particularly on Kashmir. Don't make a nuisance of yourself there. For India is very important to us. If you do make a nuisance of yourself, then our relationship will get affected, and if our relationship gets affected, then you as the elite won't be able to put up with the cost that you will incur for yourself, for your families, for yourself. Now, this is not a good policy for Pakistan, but the tragedy of Pakistan, like with other developing countries also maybe, but we are concerned of talking about Pakistan, our elites, our ruling elites, as I've mentioned, and the whole range of them, I'm not just focusing on any particular government.
You think they have the appreciation of the sensitivities
Of
about Pakistan-China relationship and Pakistan's core interests?
they do recognize that, because all the statements they give are designed not only to please China,
Because Americans
but
have
to please
that.
the opinion in Pakistan.
Sir, I say it because Americans have that appreciation, because they have already almost come to the conclusion that Pakistan is China's ally.
They have not entirely come to that conclusion. They know they have leverage with the Pakistani decision makers, and they will use that leverage as they have done in the past and as they have done recently. As far as appreciation, America knows Pakistani opinion just as well as China knows opinion. America does not respect Pakistani opinion. It expects its leaders to educate their public opinion in favor of a submissive relation towards America. You won't call it.
But they have miserably failed on that. Our elite have miserably failed to bring the public opinion to the American wishes.
But their own interests, their own interests don't allow them to act upon that recognition to the extent that Pakistani national interests require, and that should happen, and it may indeed happen. But the history of Pakistan is the betrayal of Pakistan by its own elites.
Sorry, Amjad, I encroach upon your time.
No
sorry,
problem.
because the discussion is so interesting.
No problem, sir.
You know.
Sir, my another question is again about Pakistan-China relations,
Yes.
and also the influence of the United States of America. How far the United States of America can go to influence Pakistan vis-a-vis its relations with China, and how far Pakistan can, contain this influence or can stop this influence?
Well, we saw America was unhappy with Pakistan's policy towards Russia, and when a former prime minister visited Moscow on the eve of the invasion, although he knew nothing about that, they suddenly decided that that was, and they had tried to dissuade that visit, and then of course that famous phrase came in, absolutely not. So America does not like any elected leader, however popular in Pakistan, to ever say absolutely not to America. Because America says it may be inconvenient for you, but we will sort of try and reduce that inconvenience. But should you reject it, you will find the cost much greater than any other alternative. And that government went very, very quickly. In fact, the very next day, a motion of no confidence was introduced in Parliament, and a week later it was out of office and all. And then the leader is where he is, as we all know. So America's policy is very sophisticated, but also very crude. The realities, the power realities matter, and they expect you. They look at you and say, don't make us say the things that we don't want to say. Understand them.
In your continuation of question is that the Americans have got one instrument, one thing that one person I can say is that they can change the government in Pakistan or in any other country because they have certain...
They have done it, yes, in many places.
They have certain institutions in their hands to
yes.
do the needful.
Yes.
Are we a banana state? I may supplement.
We don't make very good bananas, so we are not, our bananas in Karachi area, Sindh are not bad, but I mean, Jamaican bananas are huge. So we don't qualify as a banana state.
Is it the size or the taste?
It is, not even the taste is very good. But I mean, what your question was?
That they have other instruments in their hands, institutions.
Yes, I'll tell you, for instance, now, we have now had an economic revival, of sorts, entirely dependent on an IMF program, your 22nd program. Huh? And the IMF is still not satisfied and is still saying, we can, you haven't completely fulfilled those conditions which you have to do. Now, this is the kind of threat because IMF programs are designed to please the US Treasury. It is de facto a subsidiary department of the US Treasury, although it's part of the United Nations.
Correct.
So it follows the strategy of America. Now, the more assistance you get from the IMF, because Pakistan's governance and economic governance doesn't improve, you go deeper in debt. And it is designed, and there's a very, very brilliant book written on this whole subject, and I will take the name of that book, Michael Hudson's Super Imperialism, how America uses the IMF to keep other countries, and he doesn't even mention Pakistan, he's talking about a whole lot of countries and all, under its thumb, So if you want to live in the debt trap, and it is the death trap also, because then how will you ever invest in the economy, in the lives, in the education, in the security of Pakistan? And of course, your security is such that you have to have a military budget which is not even discussed in Parliament and all, and it includes items which are not normally part of the publicized budget and all. Well, what about development? What about education? What about human rights? What about all the infrastructure? What about all the other things which go to make up development and all?
But sir, one thing is clear, sorry to intrude.
You will remain indebted and an underdeveloped country forever under the IMF terms.
But what about the civilian elite who are corrupt to the bone?
When I talk about the elites of Pakistan, I include everyone.
No, the issue is that unless they invest in the country, how can you expect foreign investors coming to Pakistan?
But that's absolutely correct. They see
this is what is happening.
The elites of Pakistan. Now, there is a difference between elites of Pakistan and the ruling elites or the power elite. There's the power elite, but the power elite is a constituent, the dominant elite among the elites in Pakistan. But as I said, you have the urban elites, the industrial barons, the contractors, you have the landed elites, you might call it the landlords, or even the traditional religious people, peers and others whom people sort of for generations have respected and regarded, and they have properties over the generations and all, since a long time, since before even the British came and all. You have the military, you have the bureaucratic elites, the top elites. Maybe I think one part of the bureaucratic elite that doesn't really rule Pakistan is, I think, the Foreign Service. It is
because they don't live in Pakistan.
It is an intellectual elite.
They are mostly not in Pakistan.
It is an intellectual elite. Yeah. And actually speaking, the Foreign Service of Pakistan is the first line of defense. The army is the last line of defense.
That's correct.
But your foreign policy is not always in the hands of the Foreign Office, except as far as details are concerned and all. But direction and overall, character is determined beyond. Now, that happens normally in other democratic countries also. But other democratic countries know that we can't make decisions without consulting those who are repositories of generations of foreign policy experience, right from, in our case, 1947 and all. The ministry which has the biggest sort of depth of knowledge of what happened on such and such year and what are the lessons, what is the Foreign Office. But if you effectively take foreign policy decisions without even consulting them. Now, the only part of the Pakistan government which has contacts with India is really the military. The military still has, unpublicized, but they do have contacts. They meet, discussions sometimes in different countries. How does the Indian military meet Pakistan? Well, they meet Pakistan because they totally brief the Foreign Office. And in fact, the Foreign Office of India, the Ministry of External Affairs, tells them what to tell. Because they, as far as foreign policy is concerned, they come under the Ministry of External Affairs. The Ministry of External Affairs of India does not tolerate the military of India interfering in foreign policy. But if Pakistan military invites them, say, yes, go, lekin ye tumhara brief hai. ये कहना है और ये नहीं कहना है, ये करना है, वो करना फलाना. As far as are concerned, our Foreign Office, which is hugely talented, is a repository of so much foreign policy knowledge. A lot of it goes to waste because not only the talent and the knowledge goes to waste, but because very often decisions which are made are not in the national interest, the Foreign Office point that out straight away, and they don't want that.
Sir, with these constraints, the new Trump administration,
yes,
it would be a cakewalk for the Trump administration.
Well, they've always looked upon Pakistan as a
cakewalk,
which means they don't have to reciprocate favors. Like if you do something for America, America will give you a tabki and shabash and give you something, but not what you deserve.
For instance, on Ukraine, when we abstained,
yes,
It was not directed towards Pakistan, but for the countries who were abstaining, the Americans, they were trying to convince them to vote against Russia.
Yes, yes.
And they said, okay, if we vote against Russia, what is in it for us? They said, we will not punish you.
Well, that's what they often say. However, as far as Ukraine is concerned, that's not a... Pakistan would have been within its rights, but you have to have the strength to do what is right. Because what Russia did in Ukraine was illegal. Russia had recognized Ukraine within its borders. And its invasion of Ukraine is illegal under international law. There's just absolutely, there's no escaping that. And it would be correct of the Foreign Office of Pakistan to say it is illegal and we are a small country.
But it has been said to the extent.
But, you know, and as Zulfikar Ali Bhutto said, I remember in the Masters Conference in Izmir many years ago, I was the second secretary, he had said, great powers can survive as a result of their power. Smaller countries have to rely on international law.
Correct.
You know, now if a small country or a middle-sized country which is surrounded with such big countries and all violates international law, then it has no, when it's threatened, it has no fallback position because it has violated international law. With international law, at least you'll get support and things of that sort. So it's very, very important for Pakistan to always adhere to international law. And in this case, as far as Ukraine is concerned, from a legal point of view. However, from a strategic political point of view, America cleverly left Putin no choice but to invade. His whole idea was to bring about a situation where if Putin had not invaded Ukraine, he would have been thrown out.
Sir, you think that this recent change in Syria, you think that America has actually cornered Russia in Syria, and this is a message that what is going to come in the future?
Yes,
and
Russia,
perhaps that would be a bargaining chip for Trump administration.
You're right, absolutely. However, Russia is most certainly amongst the losers, along with Iran and along with the Palestinians, and in Lebanon, the supporters of the Palestinians, Hamas, Hezbollah. They are no doubt, they are the definite losers, and Russia is amongst them. But Iran can bounce back, because Iran is important for Russia, and Iran will increasingly become more and more, in my estimate, more and more important for China. So, Iran, the revolution in Iran is not threatened by these developments. It is a setback, and Iran has been embarrassed, and the Iranian embassy has had to sort of vacate, because of the perception amongst the new lot that Iran has been a supporter of Assad, and all of that. Those are setbacks. But a superpower does not lose permanently. There is a setback for Russia, but as I did mention, that with the people, it will be impossible for America and Israel to satisfy Arab opinion with regard to Palestine. So Russia as a superpower will always be welcome as a counterforce, and even more so China, towards American hegemony, which is in favor of Israel and the exploitation, indeed in favor of genocide in Gaza, and were Israel to repeat this genocide elsewhere, America can be counted upon to predict it. It can't be condoned. It's the worst of all international crimes.
Sir, my question is, what is the lesson for us, despite the fact that Trump is there now, coming with second
very fundamental question.
And second is that despite our efforts that we try to maintain a balance, as you have said, that we are not in a position to strike a balance in our relations with China and the United States of America.
There is a phrase, which America used towards Pakistan. Ada dost, ada dushman. Frenemy, friend and enemy at the same time. Pakistan is a frenemy. And in a recent article I said, actually, Pakistanis think America is the real frenemy. Banta hai dost, lekin hamare dushmanon ke dost hain. So America is the real frenemy. Now, the fact of the matter is what should Pakistan do in this situation? Very tough situation. What are our options? You have to develop your options. If Pakistan, God forbid, we have entered the syndrome of a failing state. Inshallah, mashallah, we will never be a failing state. But you can only ensure that by doing the right things, which we haven't done for a very, very long time to come. And all of us know what that is. You have to respect the opinion of the people. Your policies have to be in the interest of the people of Pakistan. The people of Pakistan have to know that. Now, if you begin to move in that direction, and so far we have not yet we've done all kinds of things, getting the IMF having up increase in indices after the IMF agreement, but those are all temporary things, and actually the downsides are far worse than the upsides, as I mentioned, debt and all of that stuff and all. But if you, generally speaking, respect the verdict and have policies which are people-friendly, in terms of all the policies, and you require expert opinion, all that sort of thing, but they must be recognized by the people as a friend. A government which is not regarded by the people as a friend won't get the people's vote. And when they don't get the people's vote, if they use force to frustrate that vote, then that will not increase your diplomatic options. Because on the question, let's say, for example, Kashmir. On Kashmir, most of the world will say, your opinions are correct. International law supports you. Morality supports you. Kashmiri opinion supports you. But who are you? A failing state? What is a failing state of use to us? Do you have a market? Do you invest elsewhere? Will you buy our goods in huge quantities? India, which is in the wrong in Kashmir. But India's got so much else. Look at India's science and technology. Look at the Indian market. Look at Indian democracy, how many elections they've had. Modi didn't do well in this election, but he accepted it. So he's an elected leader, even though he lost his majority and has had to make a coalition government for the first time and all. All of these things. But India's got the market, India's got science, India looks attractive and things of that sort. That's when you can become. And Pakistan looked better than India for so many years. The Indian growth rate used to be 2.3 to 3%. Hamara 6 and 7% hota tha, but then things changed, and we can go. That's a separate discussion. Why and how and since when did it happen and all. So first, we have to get out of the rut we are in, and that is we have to respect the people, their choice, have people-friendly governance over the whole sphere of people's interests and all. It will take time, but you're not even moving in that direction. If you begin to move in that direction, कि सही सिमत में एक कदम तो लो, आप जो कदम ले रहे हैं वो सही सिमत पे नहीं, आप दूर होते जा रहे हैं अपने मकसद से, अपने गोल्स से. तो आप एक कदम लेंगे तो जिस तरह वो एक ओलिवर गोल्डस्मिथ ने अपने ऐसे में लिखा था, a step in the right direction and 1,000-mile journey is no longer 1,000 miles. Correct. Even if it's one step in the right direction. लेकिन अगर वो opposite direction में है तो वो 1,000 miles and one step हो जाएगा. And 10 steps. So we need to do that, and everybody in Pakistan knows it. But unfortunately, there are some institutions that say, we don't care. We'll do what we do. We have the right. We have the power. And that's unfortunate.
Sir, does it make any difference for the Trump administration as far as what Pakistan does or it doesn't do?
Well, you are a country of 250 million.
Yeah.
You're not nothing. You're not
That's
nothing.
True.
Look at your potential. Right now, your actual situation is bad. I mean, you have, you don't even have $1 trillion economy. Huh?
But we have, actually.
Well, if you put in the black market...
Yes, that's the reason.
But that market is not usable for the people's interests. That market enables people not to starve and enables the upper class to become billionaires. But it doesn't do much for the economic strength of the country, for your trade, for your investment abroad, for your diplomacy. It doesn't do. It enables the country to survive.
So you sound alarming. It's like... Syria replicating in Pakistan. You think it can happen here?
I say this publicly. I write this and I say this. I am not a government servant. I've retired. I'm a senior citizen of Pakistan.
We are all retired.
Yes.
But we have to pay back, I think. Isn't
we
it?
have to pay to the people.
Yes.
And the people of Pakistan, if a struggle is required to save Pakistan, should we or should we not enter that struggle? And if you enter that struggle, there will be sacrifices. Should we accept sacrifices?
So,
or
final
not?
question, sir, before that, because we have bothered you a lot. Between the United States and China,
Yes.
fine, maintaining balance is an ideal situation.
Right now, it's not ideal for Pakistan.
But whatever, I mean, this statement itself,
Yes.
per se,
It
that
looks
we
nice,
have
it's pretty.
to have a maintain balance.
Yes.
We should have a good relationship
yes.
with the United States, but China is our neighbor,
China has
our
so much more
strategic
to offer.
partner, and all that. So then I think that the decision has already been made. The jury has already given its decision.
Well, a decision of two kinds. One is a decision that is stated, and another is a decision that has policy substance. Now, our good friends China have reason to be concerned and have expressed, they don't do it publicly, but have expressed their concern. The security situation in Pakistan, it's not happened once, it's happened several times and all you see here. Also, with regard to America, can they be sure that Pakistan won't be forced to do things which it doesn't want to do?
Correct.
Doesn't want to do, because it does want to be friendly with China and all. But if you have, for some reason, a ruling elite that for some reason believes it can't say too much or too often no to America and it must do some things, then how much can China rely? Because China is willing to make Pakistan a strategic partner. If Pakistan makes a clear choice in favor of not this false balance, which doesn't exist, in favor of China while maintaining as good a relationship with America. If America says, we don't want this balance, you have to be pro-America in substance and all. And Pakistan says, very sorry, we can't. And you have the confidence of your people because you're being fair to your people, economically, politically and all. It's not easy for America then to get funny with you. But if you have a policy, a government which is, or an elite which is following a policy that is unacceptable to the people, and you're not very popular, then America's leverage over you increases. And if you pretend to upset America, or you do upset America, America's leverage over you increases and they can do things. But if we do the right things both at home, then we can do the right things in terms of foreign policy. And I believe we need to say straight, we need to have the best possible relations with America, but the best possible relations cannot be at the expense of our relationship with China. And if America forces us to make a choice, which is really doing, then we'll say, look, we don't want to make a choice, we want a good relation, but if you force us, our choice will be China, not you. And we have the support of our people, and our people are happy with us, and we have a stable political situation. Do your worst.
Excellent. Amjad, you want?
No, thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the discussion, and I don't think that I have to sum it up because Ambassador Ashraf Jehangir Qazi has very ably summed it up. That if it comes to a pass where we have to decide between the United States and China, I think definitely. And if we are pushed to the wall, then I think China is the best bet. Thank you very much. Keep on following us, the channel, and subscribe our channel. Till next time, Khuda Hafiz.